Hi everybody, this is Davidvinc and
Alex from BacklogBattle. Oh my god, I'm so excited!
yeah, we're both in LA right now. And we thought that it would be so much fun to get together and talk about games that we loved from 2023. We are sitting in a hotel room right now. It is kind of jerry-rigged together with various lanterns and lights and ring lights and my microphone, but his tripod and his telephone, but my telephone for notes, and it's a hot mess.
It is.
But
it really is.
But here we are at 9:23 at night after we'd just been out drinking since 2.
Oh, yes. 2. Yeah, oh my goodness.
So we've been drinking since 7 o'clock for 7 hours. 7 o'clock in the morning now.
Yes.
We've been drinking for 7 hours. And yeah, we're going to be talking about some video games.
We love so I want to be clear that this is the first time I'm meeting David, and David is literally like the person that I thought he was gonna be like when I first talked to him last year, and I'm just fangirling right now, and I'm just like, yeah, this is great. This is great.
We have known each other, just background information, just FYI. Yeah. We have known each other for quite a bit of time as far as speaking to each other on Discord and Twitter and whatnot. And like I've known about him since his channel and all that, but we really got to know each other, March or so of last year. So early last year.
Yeah.
So early last year, we got into like a little group chat or whatever on Discord and became really fast friends. So that's why if you ever wonder like, why are those two collaborating so often so much? Well, that's kind of why. So, so we're in there along with some other YouTubers that you might also see in our collaborations pretty often. But anyway, let's start talking about some games. Okay. And we're talking about games that we really liked of last year in 2023. And we're going to start with Alex. And he says that he really likes Octopath Traveler 2.
Okay, so one of the first reviews I've ever made on the channel is Octopath Traveler 1. And Octopath Traveler 1
it had its issues.
Yes. And when Octopath Traveler 2 came out, and I'm gonna be completely honest about it, like it was a paid sponsorship. But it was literally one of those things where I'm like, I literally already bought the game, and I'm just like, you're paying me to talk about a game that I really love already?
Isn't it so nice?
Yes.
Whenever you're sitting there and you're like, I really want to buy this game, and then somebody emails you like, hey, we're gonna give this game for free, and we're gonna pay you for it. Like, duh.
I know. It's so ridiculous. And of course I'm like, well, of course I'm going to talk about this game because I'm
going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it anyway. So basically when that sponsored review came out, like I was just already gushing with like how much I think like, okay, so let me backtrack. So one of the biggest problems that I have with Octopath Traveler 1 is the fact that like the original Octopath Traveler had no throughput in like what the end game was going to be, because like a lot of people expected that all 8 of these like different storylines would converge into this one mega storyline, and it never did in the first game. But in the second game they literally did that, where they were like, okay,
they did it the way it's supposed to be.
Yes. And the thing is, like, not only did like at least 2 characters had their own kind of like storyline together, but the entirety of like the pre-game, like before the post-game, they literally was like, we're gonna build towards like a post-game that you deserve in the first game. And when the people who, even like for the people who really love like Elden Ring, who loves like, kind of meticulously going through the lore, like if they actually did that with Octopath Traveler 2, they would discover that. Like it was like this weird, really cool like puzzle / secret that only a few people would actually discover, and that was like really perfect. And when people actually got to the post game, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best game ever. And which is why like that was like the best game and my game of the year last year, because literally like nobody else talks about it enough. I know that Jason Schreier talked about it in his podcast and all the other like social media that he has, but not enough. But for me, I've always been a #1 supporter for Octopath Traveler.
I love Octopath series.
Yes.
I just love the series. So here's my thing with Octopath. So Octopath Traveler 1 came out, and everybody loved it. It is what it is. It kicked off HD2D, which everybody loves, and it's still fan-freaking-tastic. Please don't tell me there's a problem with the recording. Anyway, I will die.
Yeah.
But anyway, but then after that came out, it was such a hit. they came out with Live Alive. Did you play Live Alive?
Yeah.
Okay, so I played Live Alive back on the SNES, back when it was first translated back in, I don't know, 99, 2000, whatever, when it was first translated back in the day, back when I was in college, high school, whatever. And I didn't like it. So, and there's many reasons for it. It was very disjointed. It had a lot of the issues, you know, like some chapters were like 10 minutes long, other chapters were maybe 3 hours long. It didn't seem balanced. There was issues. Yeah. So they came out with the remastered version, which didn't really change many of the issues. I still had the same issues that I had with the SNES version, but here's the thing. Like you were talking about and saying that they didn't bring all the characters together in Octopath 1 like they did in Live Alive. Live Alive was kind of the precursor for Octopath. It was like, Live Alive came out in the 90s, Octopath in the 2020s, and then Octopath 2 is like the culmination, the polished final product of what they've been trying to do this whole time. So they took everything that they were trying to do and they were really able to put it together into Octopath Traveler 2 to make it something uniquely special and uniquely nice. Yeah. And that's why I really, really liked it as well. If you just muted it.
Did I just mute it?
Okay, now you unmuted it.
Okay, just say that again. I will edit it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. He's either he hit the mute button. This is my microphone. So he didn't bring it over here. So I brought my microphone. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, he's over here pushing about like,
I am drunk.
I'm like, bitch, you fucking muted my microphone.
This is going to be available for the Patreon, so I'm sorry.
No, we're all good. Whatever. Even if it's on YouTube, who cares? So.
It's like there's chemistry.
Yes. So. I was going to talk about Star Ocean 2 as far as one of my best games of last year. But the thing is, Star Ocean 2 has been talked about to death. Mm-hmm. We've seen it. We've done it. We know it's great. We talked about it back in 1998. Yeah. We know it's been good for 25 freaking years. We're good. So I want to talk about instead Monochrome Mobius Rights and Wrongs Forgotten. Have you played this game?
I actually only the first 10 minutes.
The first 10 minutes? Well, you know what? I will say this. You playing the first 10 minutes is more than I played of the second game that you're going to bring up. Because I played all 0 minutes of the next game that you're going to bring up. So, just saying. But he's also not bringing up a JRPG, and y'all know how I am. Mm-hmm. We're judging him. So, Monochrome Mobius, Rights and Wrongs Forgotten, is a spin-off of the Utoramuno series, which is a visual novel series. And whenever I was approached to review this game, I'm like, visual novels? Utoramuno? I can't even pronounce that. What are you talking about? I don't want to review this stupid game. Are you kidding me? But I'm like, I'll take one for the team. This is what I do for y'all. I'll take one for the team, and I will let you know how shitty it is. But, much to my surprise, it was one of the best games of the year.
It was
fan-freaking-tastic. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
As if you'd know playing 10 minutes.
But, come on. 10 minutes was enough for me to actually know that there was something really special about it.
There actually, yeah. What was nice about it? So, I was going into it expecting visual novel-ish and just kind of to me, visual novel is like hit A till you fall asleep and then you're done. You know, it's so boring, I want to die. But this had an open world, it had, or I guess open regions is the best way to say it, treasure chests all over the place, a battle system where there's these rings. And there's an outer ring where you go slower, an inner ring where you go a little bit faster, and then the smallest ring where you go really fast. And as you hit critical hits and hit exploit weaknesses, you move into the smaller rings. And as you move into the smaller rings, you're able to get your turns faster. And you're able to beat the bitches up faster. And it's so freaking good. And the storyline is super cute and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I really liked it. Tell us about your 10 minutes.
Okay. So I was going to dedicate a whole 15, 20-minute video on this game. But to me, one game that so many of my fans actually wanted me to talk about was the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC. And at first I was kind of how good is it going to be? Because Torna was kind of, okay, it was better than 2. And then the first one is kind of it's kind of better than the first one. But it's 3 was just kind of this supposed to I don't know, I think the best way to describe it is it was a prequel to the events of part 3. And so in a way, it was the ultimate culmination of like how all three of the Xenoblade games were actually connected. And I think there's something special about that, because what Monolith has actually done is that they made all three of these games kind of like their standalone games. And of course, in the minds of fans, they know that they're all really connected to each other. And all of a sudden, like DLC comes out and they're like, oh, by the way, they're all actually really connected, to a point where like both Shulk and Rex were like literally in the DLC, and I was just like mind blown, because Rex is apparently this like pimp who basically slept with every single girl from his game to have like an offspring, and that became a meme towards the end of last year. And I was like kind of lost, because of course I've never played DLC up until like 2024, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna have to accept this. You know, and I know, David, that's mind blowing, but it's like, to me, like what's mind blowing about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is that, like, I think to me, like the most biggest deal of this game is that they didn't just like say like, all right, let's slap in the same game from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and make a new game. They literally said like, no, not only are we going to bring back the characters from the old games, but we're literally going to upend the way they created the systems, the progression systems of part 3, and make it work for this particular storyline. And that blew me away, because like, who does that? No one does that at all except Monolith. And that's why so many of you guys like wanted me to actually want to play this game, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to write a 20 to 25 minute essay about this. But here I am with David actually talking to you about like how incredible it is and how mind-blowing it is, and I just am still playing it. I'm just I can't. I have no words. I have no words, David. I have no words.
So I'm sorry I was laughing the entire time, but I was under the impression that we're talking about Monochrome Mobius, Rights and Wrongs Forgotten, and not Xenoblade 3 DLC. I was like, I'm over here like,
we're talking about DLC.
So what do you think about Monochrome Mobius, the 10 minutes that you've played? Well, let me tell you about Xenoblade 3 DLC. And I'm like, what?
I know, I'm sorry. So like, I think like what's really cool about Monochrome Mobius 3.
You don't have to talk about it now.
I know.
You just went off about all the DLC.
I mean, I'll just edit it so that it'll
No, don't worry about it. I think it's perfect. I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic. No, I think it's fantastic. I say leave it in for everybody to enjoy that little tidbit right there. Now, I of course have played the Xenoblade DLC. He was supposed to talk about Alan Wake, but Lord knows where this kid's brain is, so... That's why I was that's why I was like, oh, I haven't played anything. I've played 0 minutes of the next game he's going to talk about, and he's over here talking about Xenoblade. I'm like,
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Xenoblade. Oh, so you're supposed to talk about Alan Wake. What are you doing? Look at your notes, kid.
I'm sorry.
You're good. Okay, so
I can still talk about it, folks.
Oh God. Okay, so Xenoblade. I guess I will talk about my next game of the year. You're a mess.
I know I am.
We're both a mess. Whatever. It is what it is. I want to talk about Dragon Quest Monsters 3, The Dark Prince.
So, okay, I have to ask, because a lot of people have called me out on this, saying that it's not the third Dragon Quest Monsters. What do you say about that?
It is third Dragon Quest Monsters.
Okay.
They are incorrect. It was kind of like the numbering of the Mana series.
Okay.
So, if you know anything about the Mana series, there was Final Fantasy Adventure, which is Seiken Densetsu 1. Okay. There was Secret of Mana, that's Seiken Densetsu 2. There was Trials of Mana, that's Seiken Densetsu 3. Then there was Legend of Mana, that is a spin-off, that is not Seiken Densetsu 4. There was Dawn of Mana, that is Seiken Densetsu 4. Everything else after Dawn of Mana was a spin-off. Children of Mana, Echoes of Mana, Friends of Mana, Circle of Mana, blah blah blah, blah of Mana. All spin-offs. Now, Visions of Mana is going to be the 5th Seiken Densetsu game. Same dealio with Dragon Quest Monsters.
Okay.
There was Dragon Quest Monsters 1 on the Game Boy, Dragon Quest Monsters 2, which was Kobe and Terra's Adventure on the Game Boy Color. And then there was Joker And Joker had 1, 2, 3, which we only got, I want to say 1 and 2. We didn't get the third professional edition. Now we're finally getting the Dragon Quest Monsters 3. Yeah. So basically, it's Japanese numbering, just deal with it. This is the third game in the mainline monster series for Dragon Quest, and that was a trick question, and now I'm over here dealing with it when I'm drunk, so what do you want from me? My God. I'm spitting facts, and I'm drunk. Anyway, it's the third game in the monster series, but what's cool about it is that it takes a storyline from Dragon Quest IV, and it starts before Dragon Quest IV begins, and it takes place during the events of Dragon Quest IV, and it ends after the events of Dragon Quest IV. It's a prequel and a sequel insofar of all of it taking place from Sorrow's point of view rather than the hero's point of view. Although you do meet up with the hero and other, party members and things like that. You also get to meet up with other antagonists that you did meet up in Dragon Quest IV, such as like people like Sorrow's Shadow, Rosa, just a lot of other people and everything, and it's really freaking cool. You even get to see Healy, and Healy looks like such a freaking dork. You just want to freaking kick me son of his damn back. It's ridiculous. I don't want to make this such a dorky. Yeah. But like, oh good lord. Yeah. Is that still gonna record? No, you're good. It better record. This is messy, folks. This is messy. But it is such a fun game, and I am having, actually I've beaten it, but like, I've seen that game Pal World has come out, and it's got like 3 million downloads, probably like 10 million by the time this video goes live, my God. But like, there are so many people playing that, and they're like, oh, well, this is gonna compete with Pokemon. Well, we already have games that compete with Pokemon, and that is Dragon Quest Monsters. And like, if you're into that, and you wanna support a developer that gives back, and a developer that doesn't use AI assets for everything under God's green earth, then you might want to try out the Dragon Quest Monsters 3 game, because it's a lot of fun. Are you getting the computer working while I'm over here carrying your ass?
Either way, like the fucking mobile phone, I'm just gonna get it.
Okay, perfect. That's all that freaking matters then. Yeah. I really certainly hope so. Good. So yeah, that's all we wanted to talk about today, was the games that we loved back in 2023. There were some great games there. He wanted to talk about Alan Wake too, but he instead talked about Xenoblade, so yes,
let's pretend like right now we're gonna talk about Alan Wake 2 because like it's just kind of funny in the way that it is. So I mean, to David's credit, I have been playing Alan Wake 2, and I think that what's actually really interesting about it is that when 2023 came around and news of Resident Evil 4 came out, I was kind of like, okay, I love Resident Evil 4, I love that gameplay, but the thing is, it's like, it's something that I played before. But the thing is with like Alan Wake 2, and I think the difference between Alan Wake 2 and something like Resident Evil 4, apart from the fact that it's new, is that Remedy has a very distinct kind of motif when they present something that they absolutely like really desire or really want to present. And one very consistent kind of theme that they always present is something like very David Lynchian, like Twin Peaks-ish. So it's very surreal. And so, if anybody has actually played through Control, it's a very surreal kind of game where there's a lot of doublespeak that happens there, which makes it very, very difficult to kind of process. But then when you go to like Alan Wake 2, it's actually a lot more straightforward, because apart from the fact that there is like Saga Anderson and of course Alan Wake, two different protagonists, you have to deal with the fact that like Saga Anderson is a real detective trying to do detective things, and Alan Wake is trying to basically compose like the best story so he can get, out like of like this hell he's basically created himself. And it's such a really creative way to try to revisit the storyline from pre-2010s that is, to me personally, there's something very personal about it, not just from myself, but also from developers themselves who have literally tried to write an Alan Wake 2, and they themselves couldn't figure out how to write Alan Wake 2, and so they kind of did this whole like Ark of the Covenant kind of thing, like in Indiana Jones, where they packaged it in a box, threw it in a warehouse, and said, I'm gonna revisit it like later on. And of course, in 2023,
Wait, ask a dumb question.
Sure.
Who the hell is Alan Wake?
Alan Wake is basically this writer who is kind of not so dissimilar from the main character of The Shining, you know, the movie with like, you know, from Stephen King.
Red Rum, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And this guy is trying to figure out like how he could create his next novel, but there's this kind of evil entity that looks like him named Mr. Scratch who wants to basically kill him and bring about like the end of the world and all that
So is
stuff.
he the main character in Resident Evil? Is that who I'm
Okay, so Resident Evil and Alan Wake are not related.
Oh,
but this is
I saw you mentioned it, so I have no idea. I play JRPGs, people. I have no clue.
I know. So they are both survival horror games, but Alan Wake approaches it in a very different way in such, because like if you think about like Resident Evil, it's very zombie forward, right? But Alan Wake is very much like surrealist forward. It's more like it wants you to think that something bad is going on without showing you that there's something bad is going on. It just gives you the idea that, oh, there's something weird going on here. And because they present it in such a manner without actually showing it, it's constant. It's always in your mind until something bad is actually happening, which is very dangerous. Because like, yes, sure, a zombie is right in front of you, cool, you can kill it. But I think to me personally, it's very dangerous when like an actual like thing that is just cannot be defined, it's just constantly in your brain and it's constantly haunting you. Like how many people have actually like thought of like, you know, for example, like in high school, like not getting like an A in like, you know, like a subject or something like that. Like that's the kind of similar kind of idea that Alan Wake has, but in a more horror kind of way of like, oh, there's this writer that's supposed to write this like really incredible story, but like he can't because there's something like maybe a writer's block or like something tormenting him. Maybe his marriage is terrible, and that's something that like Alan Wake 2 is actually kind of like really trying to delve in really deeply. I mean, consider this, and this is like really super meta. What if Saga Anderson, who is the detective, is actually a character in Alan Wake's book, but somehow Alan Wake is able to like talk to Saga Anderson, who's the character in the book that he's writing? What the hell is up with that? And that's the kind of question you have to answer when you're playing Alan Wake 2. And it's something that, like, to me, like, I'm a big fan of JRPGs. JRPGs don't breach too often, right?
I couldn't really follow what was happening. I'm so confused. I still don't even know who Alan Wake is. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
So...
Layers.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us to talk about our favorite JRPGs of 2023.
Even though
a lot of fun. Even though we were supposed to only cover a couple of them, but we ended up covering more.
And even though Alan Wake is not a JRPG,
no clue. So this was a lot of fun. In our next video, we're going to be talking about the games that we're most looking forward to coming up in 2024. So stay tuned for that one.
That's right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.